So in today's video, we're going to cover exactly how to create a business name for our dropshipping brand. Now, a lot of people spend way too much time on this, and it's just an absolute waste, especially when you're a beginner. Now, if you are becoming experienced and you're very, very confident in that this brand is going to work, you're very confident in the brand positioning and where you're going to take the future development, then obviously you should take a lot of time developing the name, thinking about it, trademarking it, and those kind of things. But for the vast majority of the people watching this, you're going to be a beginner. So the only thing that you need to think about is the DTF framework. So yes, that's my initials as well. I created the DTF framework, but basically it needs to be domainable. So you can actually get the .com, the .co.uk, the .com.au domains. Then it needs to be trademarkable. So we can jump into that in a little bit, but certain names can't be trademarked, like calming blankets. When I launched a weighted blanket called calming blanket, it was too descriptive. It couldn't be trademarkable. It couldn't be trademarked, sorry. So we want to have a think about that as well. And there's some big reasons why we actually need it trademarked. Some people think that they're overrated, but I disagree. It's very, very important that it is at least a potential in the future. We don't need to do it right now, but we just need to make sure that the name actually works. And then we've got flexible. Now, what I mean by flexible is exactly what I was referring to before. Like, you don't want it to be limiting in your ability to launch future products. Calming blankets is another really bad example of that, because we wanted to launch lots of sleep products, but it was called calming blankets. Where if it was called like something like CB or something a bit more just random like that, it would have been much more easy to pivot in the consumer's mind as well. So we just want to make sure that it satisfies all three of those criteria. Now, there's always a question whether you do our branding guidelines before, like the branding positioning before you do the name or after. Most experienced people will do a bit of positioning, make sure they're confident in it, and then they'll pick the name kind of from that process. I'm going to do it the opposite just because it's not that important. I just kind of want to get the name locked in for you guys, and then we can get into the branding guidelines. So how to do this very, very quickly and very, very effectively. We're going to come to ChatGPT and we're going to go and start a new. Pretty much all we need to do is I am creating a business that sells, and we just want to put in what we're selling. So alpaca socks. Now, this is going to give me, at this point, it's going to give me a lot of kind of just alpaca socks variations. It's really not going to be too creative. So we kind of want to think outside the box and just kind of think about some brands that we really love. How do they make us feel? How do they deliver on what they do? So for example, we've got Apple. They're an innovative company. They use technology. They use minimalism. Then we got Coca-Cola. They bring happiness. They bring moments of joy. They're delicious, this kind of thing. So you can kind of just start thinking about how some of these brands are going to look and how your brand's going to look. We're going to do a full process on it, but it's just important that we put it into ChatGPT where we think that it's going to go. So if you really want, you can also do this. If you're really kind of stuck for positioning, you can go, tell me the most famous brands and how they are branded. How do they deliver on that branding? How do customers see the brand? Just something like that. And they'll give you a list of certain ways that brands are positioned. The Apple, innovative, Nike, high performance. So this will give you some really simple ideas about how you can position your brand, and it does need to be incorporated a little bit into the naming, in my opinion. The more we can give ChatGPT outside of the obvious, the more creative the results will be. So let's go back to this. I am creating a business selling alpaca socks. And now I could even leave out alpaca just because I know how much it's going to absolutely love playing with that keyword, and it's maybe not even necessary, because I remember when we say that it's flexible, I might not always be selling alpaca socks. These alpaca socks might not even work. They might not even sell. So therefore, if my business name was called alpacasocks.com, then how am I going to test the second product on that? Remember, dropshipping, you're not always going to hit the winner on the first product. So we want to, again, keep it flexible. So I'm creating a business selling alpaca socks. I want the brand to be innovative, technology forward, and performance-based apparel. So basically giving it a bunch of more to play with. Create me 10 business name options and check that the .com domain is available. Cool. So, and then I'm just going to send that. Now, I am inexperienced. I've seen the .com, these .coms be taken a lot. It doesn't seem to manage it too well, but it's better than it coming back with like something like socks.com or something like that. So we've got a bunch of options here. We've got alpaca stride, and you can see how much I've just kind of loved grabbing that alpaca keyword. Let's try just removing alpaca completely. Selling socks with different materials. Let's try that. It's probably just going to grab all over socks. Cool. A nano stride, tech weave, stride smart. So it heavily relies on the 2-word names, which are okay. We can also go create me a business name with 3 words, which probably is going to be way worse, but no, that didn't work. Let's don't just use 2 words, see if that figures that out. Cool. So it's just, you can just play around with this. You could also do, give me some options where it's not just normal words, like you can creative spelling and stuff like that. Generally, you don't want to do too much creative spelling simply because Google will struggle to, let's say, socks with a Z or something like that. It's going to be confusing. Plus, they can infringe on trademarks a lot. The other thing you can just say is do abstract names like Google. So Google obviously makes no sense. I believe they created Google because it just looked good with 2 O's and G's. I can't actually remember. Don't quote me on that one. But you can see just by creating abstract business names, and it's checking the domains, but you got Sintra, which is cool. So like Sintra.com, like that's going to be taken. I'm certain of it. So how do we check the domains if they're taken? See, ChatGPT is not too great at it. We can just come to Namecheap, which is going to be the domain hosting that I'm going to recommend for you. You can buy the domain directly to Shopify in a later stage, but you want the flexibility. I believe you want the hosting outside of Shopify in case you want flexibility. Let's say you want to move away from Shopify one day, creating emails, all of that kind of stuff. It's just a little bit better. Namecheap is the cheapest option out there. I can leave an affiliate code for you guys as well, but realistically, GoDaddy is okay. We host with GoDaddy as well, but it's been a bit buggy for me at the moment, so I'm a little bit off them. So to find the domains, all we're going to do is we can come in here. This one is Fro. Super hard to pronounce. I wouldn't use that, but just checking that there are going to be some. Cool. So these are all kind of taken. A lot of these won't be taken though. If we just come up to here, like Active Weave definitely will be. But remember, just our DTF Framework domain is the first thing. So we're just going to check that it's free. The Stride. Cool. So these are all still taken. Working through these. Fiberlux. They're all pretty good names. pretty flexible in terms of what we can do. Could test. We could just keep launching different types of socks. We could go into fitness apparel. We could go into any kind of performance-based, which was part of the brief. Sorry, I've already tried that one. Well, that's next low. So probably all of these 3 words will be free. That being said, don't really want them. They're kind of lame. If we can get the .com available, chances are the .co.uk, the .com.au, all of the other domains are going to be free. Now, if you're just getting started, you just want to sell to the US, you don't really know what you're doing, you can just buy the .com initially and get launched. And then you can, if you wanted to, you can use a currency converter down the line. We'll get to that point, but yeah, realistically, I do like to have all of the domains free if you're pretty confident in what you're doing. And it also will mean that you're less likely going to get in trouble with a competitor that's already using that name, right? So that's why I'm just going to check. When I do find one that can even get the .com free, I'm going to check all of the other domains as well. So I've got Synthetic Fit, which is pretty terrible name. What about Synth Fit? Cool. $3,000. Let's not use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back here and just say, create me 30 business names. And you could have just prompted there just to say, create me 10 more, create me 10 more, create me 10 more. God's really loving the socks. Sweet, we'll just keep working through these. Next step. Probably don't want to use bio simply because people say that's environmental. Technically, it is an environmental product, but we don't want that to define the brand. You know, we just want performance-based at this point. Keep working through them. All fantastic names, but we're just going to keep pushing it until we can find some that are free. Let's try to incorporate. So I'm basically just asking it to incorporate the alpaca material, but be abstract. And it didn't understand what abstract was. There we go. LN thread, pure weaves. Let's see if we can get pure weave. We're not going to get pure weave by itself, but we might get pure weaves. We don't want aura fleece because we want it to be kind of cool. peaktextile.com. So we finally got one that's available, which is good. I think we will go with Peak Textile for now. It's a pretty good name. It's not ideal, but at the same time, I think it's going to be really good to show you the examples of the next steps. So the next thing we're going to go to is something called Trademark here. Now, the way trademarks work is if I trademarked Udi in the wearable blankets, apparel, slippers category, and someone trademarked Udi in the food category, that is okay. Trademarks are category specific and they're also regional specific. If someone trademarked Udi in, I don't know, some random country that I'm not selling in, have no common usage rights, which means that like I've never been selling there before, chances are that's going to be okay as well. So it's an interesting form of law. But basically what we're looking for to be as safe as possible, and you should get a lawyer to look over any of this stuff, and especially when it comes to legal IP and whatnot. We're looking for someone that a region that has no businesses similar that are selling already within that region as a first step. So the way that I would go about that is I would just write in peak textile, right? And you can see Peak Fabrics since 1990. And you can't see any like Peak Textile Instagrams or anything like that pop up. Now, the next thing, Peak Fabrics, I don't think would infringe, not from a trademark perspective, because they're two different words. Like Peak Fabrics and textile, while they can mean the same thing, they're still different words. It's very similar to like cleanest dry cleaner versus spotless dry cleaner. They're two different words, even though they can mean the same thing. So from a trademark perspective, you're probably going to be fine. It's when you're impersonating and you do lots of other things that are exactly the same, that can be problematic. So let's say you rip their website completely, you just change one word, you're stealing all of their ads, and the consumer is very, very confused about who's who. That's when you can start to get in a bit of trouble in that area. But realistically, Peak Textile seems like it's okay there. Their website's barely kind of operating, so not too worried about that. So that's when I would come to the trademark search and be like, just because if you do the trademark search first and you search it and nothing comes up, that doesn't mean that it's still okay, because there is something, as I was talking about before, there's common usage rights. So let's say I'm selling Udi in Australia for 3 years and everyone knows Udi branded. Someone can't just come in and just start selling under the Udi. It's much cleaner if I got a trademark initially and made my registration very, very clear. And that's a much better process to do it. But you still have some kind of protection if you don't have the trademark. And that's why I wanted to just search it first before looking at the trademark. So we can just write in Peak Textile here. And you're going to get a bunch of variations. So either the peak. Now, this class and description is kind of what we want to look at, because, this textile, it's software. We're not in software, so it's not too much of an issue. And I think Trademarkia is actually quite good at interpreting different variations. So if you're going to actually use the trademark search tools within like the US government or Australian government, it's really quite difficult, and you kind of definitely want a lawyer to do it, because you need to search like peak first and then different variations of peak, and it's just very, very messy. But this is why I really like this free tool Trademarkia, because it really just kind of interpret different words, and even actually maybe this doesn't, but like phonetically similar as well. So let's say the peak's not a good example, but words like, let's say you've got Udi and then someone changes the name to Udi, like EWDIE. So it's kind of exactly the same phonetically, it's even though it's spelt different. That can infringe as well. And that's where some of these trademark searches can be very, very difficult. So I know this might just be scaring everyone off, but the one thing that we're trying to avoid here is you getting 12 months down the line, scaling your business, everything's going really well, you've invested all this money in packaging, website, domain, this kind of stuff, and a big company goes, oh, we actually can see you now, we're going to get you to change your entire website. So you have to change over your domain. All of your ads that are pushing to your website, the domain will need to be changed there, and it will just kill your momentum completely. So that's pretty much why I'm trying to explain this as detailed as possible, so that doesn't have to happen to you. And then the other reason, like, we want it to be able to be trademarked is because eventually scammers are going to copy your website, your entire website, and they're going to start running ads to stealing either your packaging, stealing your graphics, all of that kind of stuff, stealing your Facebook ads. And if you have a trademark on these things, it's going to be much easier for you to go to Google, go to Facebook, go to Amazon and say, this is my registered trademark with the US government, take this piece of content down, and they'll do it. So this is why we want to make sure that we can get a trademark when we want it. Cool. So going back to this, first thing I'm looking for is someone that just has peak textile. If that was there, I'd be pretty worried about that. But these all kind of seem fine. The last thing that I can do is I can just do peak textile trademark, and we can just come into some of these and just have a read of all of this stuff. Like peak clothing, you can come down and sometimes they're not active anymore. So you can see the class status code that is active. Look, I don't think, oh no, sorry, this is a status abandoned, failure to respond or late response. Cool, so they've basically abandoned this one. So that shouldn't be an issue either. And then you can just click through some of these articles. No, I think we're good. I'm just going to simply add this to cart. So basically searching your brand's name, the .com, and they will maybe suggest a couple of other things, but you don't really need this at this point. And then we can click checkout. And we definitely want domain privacy if we can have it as an option, simply because we're going to get a lot of spam emails pitching to create a premium landing page, is what they always say. So then we can just click confirm order. We don't need web hosting or anything. We can create an account. So we do need a Gmail to set up with our email address for this account as well. Then all of the other accounts that we're going to set up after are going to be used with our actual domain name. The Gmail can kind of be your personal thing, but you want to interact all with kind of one branded domain, simply because like maybe you're going to sell the business, maybe you're going to launch another business and you want to keep them all completely separate. So it's a really good habit to get into. Then we can just set this up, put all your details in place. For company name, you don't actually need to put anything in at this point. And we can just use all the defaults here. Click continue. Now we definitely want to do automatically renew all of our services, because the last thing you want is your Shopify store going down because you failed to pay $10, and click continue. And then we can pay it now. Now that's all done and our account set up, buying new domains is going to be much easier because you kind of just defaults to everything. But if you are very confident in your desire to expand or grow the business, you do want to buy all the other similar domains around it. Now, if you're a beginner, don't do this because probably this isn't going to work the first time, as I said. But one of the other benefits of having all of the other domains is when you start seeing success, a lot of copycats will come up and they'll start copy and pasting your website, your brand name, everything. And by just kind of limiting how many domains that look similar can be really good. It also stops competing brands or similar brands in other regions from even just attempting, even if they don't know about you, launching a brand because you've already owns the domain. So we can just do like peaktextile.co.uk. And we can add that one to cart as well. And we can go through and we can add all of the ones that we want. The next step is we want to set up our email address. So to do this, we're actually what we're going to use is Google Workspace. And so you can just write in Google Workspace and set up here. Click start free trial. And we want to click here with your company, with your .com company address. Click select. Does your business have a domain? Yes, I have one. And we're just going to write in peaktextile.com because we now own that. Click next. Then you're going to enter what you want to create your username as. So mine's going to be my first name @peaktextile.com. Create password. Click I am not a robot. Agree and continue. Cool. Try that one. We're going to skip Gemini. We don't need that AI software at the moment. All we need is a great email, an easy to integrate email. Click I understand. Cool. Now you're in the admin console. So it kind of feels like everything's set up, but it's not at this point. You still need to do one little technical thing. Click next. So we need to verify this domain with Google. Then we can, this is another one of the major benefits of setting up an email in Google Workspace is every time we bring on a virtual assistant or any employees at a later date, we can create a new email for them very, very quickly. And that way, if the VA ever leaves, you've still got access to all the emails, and it's just a really good habit to get into, as I said. The main thing that people usually do is just set up everything in a Gmail, which honestly, if you're a beginner, I guess you could do it, but you're always, if it becomes successful, you're going to wish you did this in the early stages. Click protect. I'm ready to protect your domain. Now, if your screen looks a little bit different to this, you can just search how to connect Namecheap with Gmail, but they always look a little bit similar here. So we need to come back to Namecheap, and we're going to come to dashboard, manage. Guys, I'm a little bit slow today. Sorry, guys. Click advanced DNS. You're going to click a new record. So you can come back here and go to step 2. And it's going to tell you to add a text record from here. And you're just going to copy and paste this value here. And you're going to scroll down to text at. So all I'm doing here is I'm copying this host record, this text value, putting it here, and then I should be able to click save all changes. Just make sure it hasn't changed since I last did it. Cool, that's done. And then I should just be able to click protect domain and should pick it up. It might take a little while. The other reason why you really need this domain and you shouldn't just use a Gmail is because when you set up your email marketing, it's really good to kind of have that all set up appropriately. So it's not coming from a Gmail because they go straight to spam. So when we do abandoned cart emails, all of this kind of stuff, you're going to need a branded email. Cool. This might take 5 minutes, but realistically, that's it. Now I can go onto Google and Gmail. I can use other email services that integrate with Gmail, and I can just sign in. Easy as that.